What if peace is not somewhere you have to go? What if the very search for peace is the thing keeping you from noticing it? You may have spent years believing that peace would arrive when life finally became the way you wanted it to be, when there was enough money in the bank, when the right person entered your life, when your career became stable, when your family understood you, when your body looked the way you wanted, when the past stopped hurting, when the future finally looked safe. You imagine peace as a destination, a quiet house, a successful career, a loving relationship, a certain amount of money, a life without difficult conversations, a mind without difficult thoughts. And so you keep moving. But there is something strange about this journey. The more desperately you search for peace, the more obvious it becomes that you are not at peace. You wake up and immediately check what needs fixing. You think about yesterday, you worry about tomorrow, you compare yourself with someone else, you measure your progress, you wonder whether you are behind, you ask whether you are becoming the person you are supposed to become. And beneath all of this is a quiet assumption. I will be peaceful when I finally become enough. But enough for whom? And according to what measurement? Perhaps the mind has created a remarkable illusion. It has convinced you that peace is a reward that will be given to you after you successfully arrange the circumstances of your life. But life does not stay arranged. The moment one problem disappears, another appears. You pay off the debt and then worry about saving. You find the relationship and then worry about losing it. You get the promotion and then worry about maintaining your position. You become financially comfortable and then begin wondering whether you should have more. You finally reach the place you dreamed about, only to discover that your mind came with you. This is not a reason to stop pursuing anything. It is a reason to question what you expect those things to give you. Money can buy comfort. It can create opportunities. It can protect you from certain kinds of difficulty. Love can bring intimacy, tenderness, companionship, and joy. Success can create meaningful opportunities. A beautiful home can be genuinely beautiful. None of these things are wrong. The confusion begins when we ask them to provide something they cannot permanently provide. We ask money to give us inner safety. We ask another person to remove our loneliness. We ask achievement to prove our worth. We ask the future to make us feel okay about the present. And perhaps this is why even beautiful lives can contain restless minds. The problem is not always what you have. Sometimes it is the story you have attached to what you have. You can sit in a beautiful room and still be somewhere else entirely. You can eat a wonderful meal while thinking about tomorrow. You can stand beside someone you love while wondering whether they love you enough. You can reach a dream and immediately begin protecting yourself from losing it. The mind is very clever. It can turn a gift shift into a responsibility. It can turn freedom into something that must be maintained. It can turn happiness into something that must be measured. And once happiness becomes something you measure, you are no longer simply experiencing it. You are watching yourself experience it. You begin asking, am I happy enough? And that question can quietly destroy the very experience it is trying to preserve. Think of a child playing. The child is not thinking, am I sufficiently enjoying this moment? They are simply playing. There is no psychological committee in the background evaluating the quality of the experience. But somewhere along the way, we become observers of ourselves. We start living as though someone is watching. Sometimes that someone is society. Sometimes it is our parents. Sometimes it is social media. Sometimes it is an imagined future version of ourselves. And sometimes, most strangely, it is ourselves. We become the person performing life and the person judging the performance. And perhaps peace begins when the performance becomes unnecessary. Not because you stop caring, but because you stop turning every moment into evidence about who you are. You do not have to turn your life into a project. You can simply live it. Consider water. Water does not spend its time trying to become the perfect shape. Put it in a cup, and it takes the shape of the cup. Let it flow through a river, and it follows the river. Meet a stone, and it moves around it. It does not call this failure. It does not say, I should not have encountered this rock. It simply continues. There is something profoundly intelligent about this. Water does not confuse resistance with strength. And yet, human beings often do. We think that if we fight hard enough against reality, reality will eventually surrender. We fight our emotions, we fight our past, we fight uncertainty, we fight aging. We fight other people's opinions. We fight parts of ourselves. We fight the fact that life changes. And then we wonder why we are exhausted. Perhaps acceptance is not giving up. Perhaps acceptance is simply stopping the unnecessary war with what has already happened. You can accept reality and still change what needs changing. You can accept that someone hurt you without deciding that the hurt must define your entire life. You can accept uncertainty without becoming passive. You can accept yourself without refusing to grow. You can accept today without abandoning tomorrow. This is where the idea of peace becomes much more interesting. Because perhaps peace is not the absence of movement. Perhaps peace is the absence of unnecessary resistance. Now, for a moment, stop. You do not have to solve anything while listening to this. If you can, allow your breathing to become natural. Imagine that you are sitting somewhere quiet, perhaps beside a river just before sunset. The sky is wide, the light is soft. The water moves slowly in front of you. You can hear the faint movement of leaves. Maybe there are birds somewhere beyond the trees. Maybe there is only silence. Feel the weight of your body Notice where you are sitting. Notice the temperature of the air against your skin. There is nothing you need to accomplish here. No identity to improve, no future to reach, no problem you must solve. Just breathe. Watch the breath arrive, watch it leave. You do not need to tell it how to breathe. Life is already doing something for you that you have rarely stopped to appreciate. Now, notice your thoughts. Perhaps one appears. A memory, a worry, a plan, a person, a desire. Let it come, let it go. You do not have to chase it. You do not have to push it away. Imagine each thought as a cloud crossing the sky. The sky does not fight the clouds. It does not become smaller because a storm passes through it. The clouds move, the sky remains open. Now, as you sit beside the river, imagine that someone is approaching from the distance. You recognize this person, it is you. But this is the version of you that you have been waiting for. The peaceful you, the successful you, the financially secure you, the confident you, the version who finally has everything under control. Look at them carefully. Perhaps they are wearing beautiful clothes. Perhaps they have traveled around the world. Perhaps they live in a beautiful home. Perhaps their work is meaningful. Perhaps money is no longer a constant source of worry. They have freedom. They have comfort. They have choices. People respect them. They seem to have the life you once believed would finally make you peaceful. And now sit beside them. Do not become them. Just observe them. Ask them quietly. Did you finally find peace? Perhaps they smile. Perhaps they are silent. Because they have discovered something you have not yet understood, their life is beautiful. But it is still life. There are still mornings when they feel uncertain. There are still things they cannot control. There are still people they cannot keep forever. There are still changes they cannot prevent. Their success did not make them immortal. Their money did not stop time. Their beautiful home did not silence every thought. Their achievements did not remove their humanity. And then, perhaps, they tell you something without speaking. The peace you were searching for was never hidden inside their life. It was hidden inside the moment when they stopped demanding that their life prove they were safe. Look at their face. Notice that beneath the identity, beneath the success, beneath the wealth, there is simply a human being breathing. And now notice something even stranger. The same awareness looking through their eyes is present in you now. You do not have to become them to experience stillness. You do not have to travel into the future to discover what is already available in this breath. The imagined future begins to dissolve. The house disappears, the money becomes meaningless, the applause becomes quiet, the title disappears. The perfect relationship disappears. The future version of yourself disappears. And there you are again, beside the river, breathing. The water continues moving. Nothing has been achieved, And yet, for a moment, nothing is missing. Stay with that. Not because it will last forever. It will not. But because perhaps peace was never supposed to be something you could permanently possess. Perhaps peace is something you notice when you stop trying to possess the moment, return gently to the world around you, and notice how often you have been looking in the wrong direction. You look outside because outside is easier to measure. You can measure money. You can measure achievements. You can measure followers. You can measure houses. You can measure degrees. You can measure titles. But how do you measure the quality of a quiet mind? How do you measure the moment when you forgive someone? How do you measure the feeling of sunlight entering a room? How do you measure the silence between two people who feel completely safe together? The most important things in life are often difficult to measure. And perhaps because we cannot measure them, we begin trying to replace them with things we can. We collect evidence, we collect achievements, we collect possessions, we collect approval, and then we wonder why the collection never feels complete. Imagine someone who spends 20 years building a successful career. They work hard because they believe success will finally allow them to breathe. But success brings responsibility. Responsibility brings pressure. Pressure brings fear. And suddenly, they are working not because they want to build something meaningful, but because they are afraid of losing what they built. The ladder that was supposed to lead toward freedom becomes something they cannot step away from. This does not mean ambition is the problem. The problem is when ambition becomes identity. When you cannot say, I have achieved something, without secretly meaning, I am something because I achieved it. That is a fragile way to live because anything that gives you identity can also threaten to take it away. A relationship can end, a career can change, money can disappear, beauty changes, health changes, people's opinions change. Even your personality changes. So, what remains? This is not a question that requires an intellectual answer. It is something to notice. Right now, beneath your stories, there is awareness, thoughts appear within it, feelings appear within it, memories appear within it. You can have a thought without being the thought. You can experience fear without being only fear. You can experience sadness without becoming sadness forever. The ocean contains waves without being reduced to any single wave. Perhaps consciousness is like that. Experiences move through you. They rise, they remain for a while, they change, they disappear. And the mistake is believing that because something is happening within you, it must define you. This is why presence can feel so liberating. Presence does not require you to have a perfect life. It only asks you to stop abandoning the life you actually have. You can be ambitious and present. You can be wealthy and present. You can be struggling and present. You can be uncertain, and present. You can be heartbroken and present. Presence does not promise that every moment will feel pleasant. It offers something more honest. It allows you to experience the moment without immediately demanding that it become something else. And perhaps that is why the present moment can feel frightening, because the present contains no guarantee. The future is where imagination can build a perfect life. The past is where memory can edit the story. But the present is where reality actually happens. And reality is not always polished. It is unpredictable. It is unfinished. It contains both beauty and pain. So the mind runs, it runs toward yesterday, it runs toward tomorrow, it creates stories, it creates plans, it creates identities. Anything to avoid sitting quietly with what is. But what if what is not your enemy? What if the ordinary moment you keep escaping is the only place where life can actually meet you? You do not have to stop dreaming. Dream, build, create, love, earn, travel, grow, but do not make the future responsible for your soul. Let the future be an invitation, not a rescue plan. There is a difference between saying, I would love to experience that, and saying, I cannot be okay until I experience that. The first creates movement. The second creates imprisonment. And perhaps peace is not found by shrinking your life. It is found by removing the impossible burden you have placed upon it. You do not need your career to prove your worth. You do not need your relationship to prove you are lovable. You do not need money to prove you are safe. You do not need strangers to approve of your existence. You do not need to become extraordinary before you are allowed to feel alive. Let that thought become quiet for a moment. You can still want more, but you do not have to reject what is already here. You can pursue wealth without worshiping wealth. You can seek success without becoming its servant. You can love someone without demanding that they complete you. You can improve yourself without treating your current self as an enemy. And you can plan for tomorrow without sacrificing today. Perhaps this is what freedom begins to feel like. Not having control over everything, not knowing exactly what will happen, not having every question answered, but becoming less dependent on certainty. The river does not know where every bend will lead, and yet it moves. The tree does not know what next season will bring, and yet it grows. The sky does not need to know which cloud comes next, and yet it remains open. Perhaps you can live like that, not carelessly, not blindly, but openly. Now take another slow breath. Feel yourself sitting exactly where you are. Notice the sounds around you. Notice the weight of your body. There is nothing you need to become in this moment, nothing you need to prove, nothing you need to solve. There may still be goals waiting for you. There may still be problems. There may still be people you need to forgive. There may still be things you hope will change. Let them be there. You do not have to turn your life into a perfect story. You only have to stop missing the story while it is happening. Perhaps the peace you were looking for was never hiding at the end of your achievements. Perhaps it was never waiting for the right person, the right bank balance, the right house, or the right version of you. Perhaps peace was the quiet space beneath all the demands, the space between one thought and the next, the breath you were not paying attention to, the sunlight falling across an ordinary wall, the sound of someone you love breathing nearby, the feeling of your feet touching the ground, the simple fact that you are here. And perhaps you have spent so long searching for a life in which nothing hurts that you forgot to notice the life in which something is always alive. Life does not promise permanence. Hence, it offers moments. Some will be beautiful, some will be difficult, some will make sense years later. Some may never make sense, but each arrives only once. The river does not ask permission before moving. The seasons do not apologize for changing. The sunset does not remain because you love it. And perhaps this is not a tragedy. Perhaps this is what gives each moment its strange tenderness, so you can stop running for a little while, not forever. Just long enough to notice your breath, your body, this room, this day, this unfinished life. You may still want more. Let yourself want. But do not confuse wanting with being incomplete. You may still dream of tomorrow. Let yourself dream. But do not abandon today in order to reach it. You may still become many things. Let yourself grow. But remember that growth does not require you to hate the person who is growing. And perhaps when you stop demanding that life finally become peaceful before you can feel peace, something very quiet happens. Nothing outside changes. The world keeps moving, people imperfect. Tomorrow remains uncertain, and yet, somewhere inside the endless search, you stop. You breathe. You look around and you realize that peace was never a place you had to reach. It was the stillness you kept walking past while searching for somewhere else to stand. Uh, And for one quiet moment, there is nowhere else to go, nothing else to become, nothing else to prove. Only this breath, only this life already happening.